जिंदगी में जो कुछ किया शायद सब गलत किया, लेकिन अपने किए पर पछताना मेरे उसूलों के सख्त खिलाफ है।
मदन कुमार बहन।
All right. So a warm welcome to Team Jubilee on Filme Shilmy. So Aditi, Apar, Prosenjit, Vikramaditya Motwane, and of course Sidhant. A warm welcome to you all.
Thank you, Anuj. How are you?
Very good. Good to see you, Apar, after a long
Same here,
time.
buddy. Same here.
All right. So Vikram, I'm gonna begin with you. A decade ago, you made a film called Lutera, which is one of my personal favorite films of all time, and it's set also in the pre and post-colonial eras of India. So, how much research and creative, creations from then came useful for this show?
I think the idea of I think the usefulness came from the fact of just being prepared for the fact that shooting period stuff in India is really, really difficult. We haven't maintained, sadly, honestly, we haven't maintained a lot of the stuff that our streets or our buildings or the interiors. And I think I saw that in Lutera firsthand, so I was mentally very prepared to know what we're getting into and what the challenge here is going to be in terms of creating that entire world. There is a tendency, I think, and I remember during Lutera we used to go on all our location scouts that living in a period or looking constantly for things that are period correct became such a habit that I would literally, come back from the airport and be driving on the street and suddenly see an old house and say, "Oh, that's really nice windows," and there would be a tendency to do that. So doing stuff in a period world, you jump in, you completely, it just takes over, and you start to swim in that entire process of starting to see everything from a lens which is, a very different lens where you're trying to look for everything that matches the aesthetic you want and the time period you want. So, on Lutera, it was a bit of a strange feeling, but on this one, it felt right at home. I was prepared for it. And so there was that. And then there's, of course, the normal research that you would do for a series of, the scale and set in that time period, which was pretty extensive. And that's it.
Mm-hmm. And I think, at a time like this, when I think if we introspect, there's been so many opinions on Hindi cinema recently as well. So two questions. The question is split in two parts, really. So how do you feel a series like this really pays homage to the golden age of Hindi cinema? And how reliant are you on that sentiment of nostalgia in creating a series like this?
So it does. It's playing homage in subtle ways. It's not pointing out that, oh, this is that character, that's that character, or this is taken from an amalgamation. The homage is much more subtle. It's in moments, it's in shots, it's in certain clothes or a certain. So it's hat tips in that kind of sense. There's no specific outward homage being paid anywhere. A little bit. I think that nostalgia is going to be created from the fact that you really can't sort of like pinpoint. But the nostalgia comes from the music. It comes from a sense of the movies within the movies, not so much from the characters. I think we're treating the characters as fairly modern. In fact, I think the way that they're speaking is not aged, in the sense that they're speaking in a fairly simple Hindi, which can be quite modern. So there's definitely, that's not so. Our focus is we be able to say we want to create just really compelling characters that can have dramatic chops and who have conflict with each other, and they're going to just fly with that. The nostalgia comes from, as I said, it comes from the music. It comes from the scenes of movies that they would be doing, and that's when you kind of like, you have that sense that, okay, I may have sensed something like this before, seen something like that before. So yeah, again, it's not outward nostalgia like, oh look, this is going to remind you of X, Y, Z. But if it does, it's great. So,
Now it's quite interesting as well because I recently watched a film called Qala, which also had some beautiful music from that era. Like it sort of paid homage as well, like how this does. And I've seen a few episodes of this, and it was definitely intriguing. And I'm glad you mentioned conflict because I'm going to use that to segue to my question to the actors. So Prosenjit, Aditi, Sidhant, and Apar. Your roles are quite great. In fact, for some of you, especially you, Apar, I think you really have outdone yourself in this show. I mean, even you as well, Sidhant as well. I mean, all of you are really
Thank you.
great, I must say. But I think conflict forms the essential backdrop of the series' setting as well, even because it's set during the partition. So, as artists, how do you cope with ethical and aspirational dilemmas in life? I think, Prashanjit, we're going to begin with you because this is your digital debut.
Well, how do I explain this? Like, yeah, I think all the characters in this particular series, I mean, in this particular show, uh, it has its own way of, it has its own, what do I say, right word? For me, I think, like, if I talk about my Srikant Roy character, it has its own shades, and we're talking about a period, of course, and the period where we know there were some people who was like Srikant Roy, and it had a lot of shades otherwise also. So I think, yeah, that's it.
Right. Fair enough. Okay, what about, in fact, Aditi, what about you? Because I think if there's one character who I think is in a bit of a duvida, I think it's definitely, even Apar as well, actually. We will talk about both of your characters as well, Apar. But Aditi, how do you deal with ethical and aspirational dilemmas in life as well?
But
think that's
I
a
love the
really
I love the way
He said
the
Duvida.
Brit slang के साथ साथ जो दुविधा आया है ना
Sweet.
Anuj, first of all, I have to compliment you on your eyebrows.
I know,
man.
Thank you. Oh, wow, thank you so much. That's the first time someone's complimented me.
They're like very classic. But no, that's a really nice question because especially with characters who have different um, I don't know how to say it, but like they have different layers, and also there's different things that are driving them. I do feel that maybe at the beginning when I had started working, you immediately say, no, I don't want to play this because it's just, oh my God, I don't understand this person, But I feel that my being an actor and, now starting to enjoy this whole process of whatever, the work that I'm doing and just creating, I feel like I have learned also along the way to not judge, not only on not only real, but also real, and that is something that Bombay and being around such different, varied people has taught me to not judge. And I'm speaking from a place of privilege where I grew up around a lot of really good, kind human beings. So when anybody wasn't like that, I'd be like, why are they so horrible? And then today, I feel like everybody has a reason for why they do what they do. I'm not talking about serial killers. I'm talking about like people with real struggles and real, and I feel like so often it's so important to understand the intention or the sit in, to get to the core intent of that character and whatever it is. And with Sumitra Kumari, I think I really empathized with her in many ways because one, she's an actor. I didn't possibly understand a lot of what she does, but the core quality of hers where she just wants love, and she's possibly just this little like this lonely little princess in a castle yearning for love where seemingly everything is in her favor. She has all the power, everything, people like sort of devoted to her and her persona, etc. But actually this is, she's that vulnerability. So to see that, I think, and just to possibly be empathetic enough to see that kind of little bit, I've learned to possibly do that, and it helps to have the material and the director to also take you there and hold your hand and say, it's fine. You can like look down on somebody and like, it's okay. And that's who you are here. How much ever it hurts you inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, of course, we all face with a lot of conflicts in real life as well. Of course, Binod is very different from the way Apar deals with it. And whenever I have a conflict within myself or with an external conflict with someone else, I normally I would like to believe that I have a very positive frame of mind. And like for example, in one of the conversations somebody said that इतनी सारी कॉमेडी के बाद आपको सीरियस फिल्म करने का मौका मिल रहा है, वो मेरे लिए शायद मैं उस चीज़ से कोई मैं बुरा मान ही नहीं रहा हूँ. मेरे को शायद यही एक जर्नी मेरे लिए लिखी गई थी. एंड हाउ अबाउट लुकिंग एट इट विद अ लेंस दैट शायद मैं रेडी नहीं था. I mean, I would rather want to have a positive frame of mind there. Number one. Number two, विनोद जो है, जैसे आपने देखा है ट्रेलर स्टार्ट होता है कि कुछ लोग किसी भी हद तक जा सकते हैं किसी चीज़ को पाने के लिए. I am not that guy in real life. I would put my best foot forward, never get complacent, but I would not, कोई unethical boundaries नहीं मैं पार करने की कोशिश करूंगा. जितनी ethical boundaries हैं सिर्फ वहीं तक सीमित रखूंगा. So yeah, I mean, Vinod is that guy जो थोड़ा सा unethical हुआ है. एंड काफ़ी अनएथिकल चीज़ें उसने रॉय बाबू के लिए भी की हैं, बिकॉज वो उनका एक वफादार सिपाही है. सो ही इज़ ट्राइंग टू डू व्हाटएवर ही कैन डू इन द कैपेसिटी ऑफ बीइंग हिज एम्प्लॉय, हिज कंपनीज एम्प्लॉय. तो जो कुछ वो करने की कोशिश कर रहा है वो उनको प्लीज करने की कोशिश कर रहा है. ही लुक्स अप टू हिम एंड ही इज द सुपर बॉस ऑफ दैट प्रोडक्शन हाउस एंड ही इज ट्राइंग टू लीव नो स्टोन अनटर्न्ड टू मेक हिम फील हैप्पी. Me as Aparshakti will never do that. I would rather question my boss कि क्या ये सही है या गलत है. So of course, I mean, you have to then bring in, either your acting chops or your innocence in you to not question a senior. कुछ ना कुछ आपको mix and match करना होता है to kind of bring it together. And then of course, you have a par excellence director to kind of further streamline it for you. So yeah, touchwood, I think it all brings in together and it's beautiful to see that.
Sure. And I think on that note as well, Sidhant, your character is one which is obviously quite marginalized in the show. And obviously he goes through a lot of issues, a lot of difficulties, and how the journey plays out for him is rather fascinating watch, I would say. But I think for you in that whole conflict as well, what aspects would you add to that in terms of the conflict? That
first of all, thank you for the question. I think this series is about dreams, and when your dreams are big, life will always question your will throw these ethical questions at you at every interval. And the thing is, I remember reading this script for the first time, and I was like, it's a beautiful world, and it's an incredibly written character. And what I loved about the character was he believed in the magic this life has to offer. He's like a little child. He's holding his heart and just running and just seeking more to life and really trying to feel as much as he can. So that was my approach. And the thing is, I was like, how do I do this? What do I do? Now this guy is all heart for me, so I wanted to find his heart. And really, I feel along the way, his heart found me. That's how I could just trust in the process, in playing this character, holding him so close to me. And also the writing, it takes you when the text is so clear and the journeys are so clear and articulately written, I think you just trust. And especially when with Vikram sir, and I remember meeting him. I have loved all his films, but keeping everything aside, I think it's the clarity that you feel through him, that he knows what he's doing, And I think with time, it's like, you know, when you do a series, it's like you live an entire life. So it felt like that. And his vision, you know, it started to unfold with time when it comes to all those sets and every single thing, every single, like for instance, we started with Refugee Camp. It was the big major set, and there was some sense of reality that was given to me. So it all really felt real and fascinating, like you said. So yeah, it's been delightful, but at the same time, I think when you trust the heart, that's when you find all the answers, and it just ethically feels right because you're just trusting your heart. End of the day.
Yeah, no, very true. I think on a final note before I wrap up, I think Vikram, I wanted to ask you actually, because having done a series like Jubilee, and you know, like I said in the first question, having lived and experienced that era, in fact, even before as well as an assistant director, because you worked on Devdas as well. What do you love the most about the vintage Hindi cinema? What do you think is perhaps missing in today's day and age that isn't prevalent in today's cinema? Do you think?
I think the ambition that filmmakers from that era had is something that is missing today. That ambition was far more prevalent among lots of filmmakers in the golden era, in the black and white era. I think there was a yearning to tell stories to a larger pan-Indian audience that were unique. Those stories were actually coming from the Hindi land. People were bringing the stories with them from places as they were emigrating, you know, to Bombay or to Calcutta, to the urban centers where you could actually make the movies. I think today I find that some filmmakers have a sense of ambition, but most of the time that ambition to be able to tell stories out of the ordinary, to take risks, to tell larger than life stories about unusual, interesting, flawed characters. I think we've kind of lost that somewhere. So I would like to see a lot more of that. I'd like to see a lot more risk taking, a lot more, and just ambition of scale, ambition of scope, ambition of story, ambition of, you know, like achievement. And I think because every time you see it, even in the modern day today, where you see anything that Rajamouli does, for example, there is a sense of ambition in everything that he does, and that's why it pays off at the end of the day. Or even Pathaan. I'm saying there is an ambition to the action sequences. There's an ambition to sort of like setting it up on a certain kind of scale. I think there's an ambition that you see a lot in Malayalam films or in Tamil films. And I think Hindi movies in general, I feel that that's kind of like got a little diminished. I would like to see a lot more of that, and I think that's something that definitely your filmmakers, whether it's Gurudat or Raj Kapoor or Vijay Anand or Bimal Roy, who had that in the past. They had a sense of, you know, wanting to be able to tell movies, just big movies made for the large screen.
Right. Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time, so I'm going to have to wrap up there. I mean, I have so much more questions to ask you guys, but unfortunately, time is of the essence. But I think I'm very happy as well to see such a legend like Prosenjit sir, like making his digital debut. I mean, I watched Chokar Bali so many years ago, and to finally see him act as this very greyish character, it is so wonderful. But all of you should be very proud of yourselves as artists and creators. It's a very wonderful show. I'm still yet to see the remainder of it, but can't wait to hear what the audiences have to say once it streams on Prime Video. So thank you so much, Team Jubilee, for joining me on the film. It was such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anuj. We ran out of time, और यही दुविधा है इस समय. Love you.
Yeah. Okay. As long as the best duvida is when you have the most dangerous one is when you have to choose between food, what you want to eat. That's the most dangerous duvida.
Yes.
Yeah, I was deciding between salad and a salmon right now.
Take care, Anuj. Bye bye.
All right then. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Guys.